So, what are your 3 key takeaways from building a £10 million business with no investors? Daniel?
Okay, let's give this some context first. Okay, so Target Internet is the company we run, and it is an online digital marketing training business. Okay, and we built it organically over a number of years. We've had no investors at any point, and on basic valuations at the moment, it's worth £10 million. Okay, that's £10 million on paper. You could go bankrupt at any point, but the point is, we see these things on YouTube all the time. How I made £50 million by doing this. And I wanted to try and give a bit of an honest view of, okay, how do you build a £10 million business?
We get so many pitches for people wanting to become on the podcast.
Yeah.
Tell everybody how rich they are now.
Six figure. It's always 7-figure. It's like, he's a 7-figure big publisher. And it's like, really?
Mate, no one cares.
Yeah, right, that's it. And I particularly don't, because I'm just like, I don't really believe you either. So I wanted to give some actual contexts on the business. Yeah, a bit of context for it. It's a learning platform to try and be scalable. So the idea is that you build this learning platform, you can sell it multiple times to different people. So a business model that lots of other people kind of use.
So first of all, why is there no investors for Target Internet?
Right. I'd love to say because we wanted to do things dynamically and quickly and get things done, and we could be more kind of agile and all that kind of stuff and all those good business words. And actually, it's because I didn't want a board to report to, and I don't like being told what to do. That's really the answer to the question.
He really doesn't.
Exactly. So from that point of view, it made sense for me to be able to operate my own business, have that freedom, do what I thought was the responsible thing to do, which has been bad in a lot of cases because it means there's not someone driving you, so you're completely reliant on your own self-motivation. Going bankrupt is always a good motivator. Not having any money to pay the bills next month is always a good motivator. So that was the main reason. But there's a huge advantage to that because when you exit a business, you sell it, okay, fundamentally, exit, posh word for selling something, right, is that actually, if you've sold money and sold money, you've raised all this money, you're giving away your shares and you're giving away your shares, and you end up maybe owning 5, 10, 20% of your business at the end of the day, you've got to sell it, if you own 20%, for 5 times the money you would have sold it for before to end up earning the same amount of money. I would much rather take a bit longer to do it, and it's about how much you're in a rush as well. It's also about how big you want to get things, okay? But I'd much rather take a bit longer, not build something that's quite as big, but have that freedom, have that quality of life to do that and sell it for the same amount of money. Now, that's not the same as trying to build a unicorn, right? You're trying to build these billion-dollar businesses. The reality is that you are going to need to scale. You're going to need to be huge to impress people. You're going to need to do a lot of different things. There's plenty of cases with things like Instagram where actually it was a tiny team and it didn't need to be. It was just the right thing at the right time and it made a lot of money. But actually, if you think about what are you trying to do you just want to be a big face in the startup world, which is valid, if that's what you're into, or do you want to make a business you're proud of and make a lot of money from that? 2 very different things. It's a lifestyle choice, really, at the end of the day.
I've worked with lots of founders of businesses that have sold. Very often they'll have built into that.
You have actually, right? This is very true.
They'll have built into that exit contract an exit strategy for when they, as founders, move on. All of them, in my experience, have gone through 2 to 3 years of absolute hell, where their baby is morphed into something they really don't like.
And you normally get tied in for a couple of years at least, right?
You do, and the scars you come out with, they are
pretty
deep.
tough.
Yeah, they are deep. So yes, you end up with a lot of money quite quickly, but you also suffer that and pay a very heavy price for that. And I think a lot of them, well, I have actually asked quite a few of them, would you do it again? And it's always a categorical no, not like that.
Yeah, do it a different way, learn from that. So that's the other thing. I would speak to people that have done this and kind of learn from that. And this was the reason we did this in this kind of way as well. So there we said there were 3 key takeaways. So I guess we should probably look at those. Number 1, if you want to start something and build it, and this isn't quite minimal viable product, the MVP approach. I kind of like MVP as an idea. I'm just going to build something basic as it can be, and then we'll try and sell it. The problem is if you build an MVP that's too M, as in too minimal, people go, this is a bit rubbish, and they won't come back. So you've got to build something that's impressive enough. But also what we found is we'd had an idea for a long time, and we were just waiting for the opportunity to do it. And the opportunity never comes because you've got a job and you've got commitments and those kind of things. Someone we knew came along and said, we need this thing. Could you build it? And we were like, that's what we want to build. That's what we've always wanted to build. We don't need to ask them for a lot of money to do it because we just need to fund it. Okay. Can you give us 2 months? They went, no, we can give you 6 weeks. And we were like, we'll do it. Okay. Oh man, that was a painful 6 weeks. Okay. So we went out, we had to get a developer. We had the idea, we built it, it didn't work, it fell apart. And about 8 weeks later, so we were a couple of weeks late, we delivered it. And they stayed a client for a very, very long time. And the product built and product built and product built, and it was thanks to them. So that was a really good time. So start with, if you can build the product for one client that will make them really happy, there will be other people. And you get the advice, like build for yourself or build for one customer or whatever it might be. That's the, I think that one customer in view is an important kind of thing. When I said yourself, you frowned at that as well.
Yeah, no, only because I think for me, business is always about doing things for other people. And I've seen the excesses of doing stuff for yourself can have bad outcomes.
But Digital Marketing Podcast, why did that start? It kind of started because we used to chat, and actually it was what we want, two people chatting about what the latest things are would have been useful to us.
Yeah.
So in a kind of way, there's an element of that.
It's almost like a reflection and looking back and thinking, when I was learning about digital marketing, what would have been useful to me?
Yeah, right. That's it.
Do you know the funny thing was I was learning about digital marketing because this was right at the start of my career.
So was I.
Yeah, I know. And it hugely helpful. But we were lucky in that sense because actually our target audience, we were very representative of them. Yeah.
That's it. Next one I would say is you've got to focus on content that stands out. And this, how many times have we said this in a million different things? I'm bored of hearing myself say it. But what I would say with that is that focus on content that can stand out. And what that means is that you're not going to necessarily be able to write blog posts that are better than everyone else's. You might be able to. But if you just try and do what everyone else did, it's going to be hard. Whereas for us, podcast was kind of easy because there weren't as many people doing it. I mean, we did start like 11, 12 years ago, okay? So it was like, okay, what's the opportunity at the moment? And Neil Patel will talk about this as well. It's like an early adoption of a platform like TikTok or Instagram, or if you look at the early YouTubers, they got the traction before everyone else was competing with them. Whereas now, trying to launch a YouTube channel is hard. It's not impossible, but it's hard. So look at the way, have you got an early advantage somewhere? Can you do something that stands out? Do it in a different way that other people aren't doing. And I think that really helped us with the podcast got traction over a period of time. But it didn't happen overnight as well. Then the final one, my most important business tip, no matter what you work in, is offline face-to-face relationships is still the most important thing. Now, when I say offline, they may be online. So let me caveat this, is that I know if I go to my LinkedIn, how many tens of thousands of people I'm connected to on LinkedIn now, okay? Huge, huge audience. But there's probably 200 people on there. I'm trying to kind of roughly estimate it. 200 people that I'd walk across the room and go, hey, how are you? I'd know who their name was. I'd be really pleased to see them. I can remember, what they do, all those kind of things as well.
Their dog.
Yeah, well, that's it quite often as well. So that's that personal relationship. So in reality, that's what's important. Those are the people that help you out. And what's interesting is when we go back to point one about focus on one client, I knew that client really well. And I'd helped her out in a number of situations in her business. And I'd rocked up and done some training for free because she was a bit stuck and she needed to achieve something. And it helped her career. She came to me and she was patient with us delivering something. I can think of numerous other occasions as well where there's that relationship that's fairly personal that actually they do you a favour, you do them a favour, and it just kind of works over a period of time. When I say favour, I don't mean turning up with brown envelopes for cash. I just mean being personally kind to someone and helping them out.
For no personal gain. Because
trying to build that network. That network is what's really paid dividend. Now, when I said some of these were online relationships, there are people that would listen to the podcast and email us, and I would email them back. And they'd be, you reply. And then we have email conversations, and I feel like I know those people. And then when you meet them face to face, it's like, we've never met each other before. And it's that really, wow, that's really strange. And I think a lot of us had that in COVID where you'd meet a colleague online and you didn't know who they were and so on. But actually, when you meet them face to face, it really bonds it. So I think focus on delivering something of value to a very niche audience of one potentially. Make sure that what you're going to create stands out in terms of content, and then really focus in on personal relationships, building that network. You might build a network for a long period of time and then it will become useful at a later date. So investing in that network, and I don't mean in that cheesy networking kind of, hi, I'm pitching you something. It's that, actually, I kind of know you as a human being and I can engage with you. Because essentially, business is doing business with people. And that's really what cuts through.
It's got to be an element of genuineness in there. Yeah. Like, I like you, and I want to show you I like you by helping you whenever there's an opportunity to do that. Yeah. But it's got to reciprocate, isn't it? When you that's such a good core seed for a brilliant thing. For me, this is where the money and the pressure can get in the way, because I've seen lots of businesses burn, seedling relationships like that. It could have been amazing, and they burn it because of a contract detail or something like that. And it's like, oh man,
Yeah.
that's so wasteful, wasteful. Because when these seedlings grow, they're rare.
3.5 we're going to give now. The other one is that when you just about contracts, when you're negotiating on contracts, don't negotiate with a person if you can avoid it. It's a stranger's voice, but lawyer up in that. Get the best lawyers you can when you can. And everyone says don't bring lawyers in until the last, it's the worst thing you can do because it creates conflict. That's kind of true in some cases. But actually, we've got this particular point we need to iron out, and giving a level of freedom to the lawyers to do that so that you and that person aren't in that conflictual conversation can sometimes avoid that. You've got to be wise in your judgment, though, because sometimes, lawyers bill on hours. When they come in, actually, things can escalate pretty badly as well. So find a balance of that, but it's an important balance to learn. I think that's a really important one. So there's our tips. If you've got any questions, you can always get in contact, targetinternet.com. Feel free to get in contact and ask your questions, and thank you for listening.